customers that we've got in automotive, they've got more than 500 suppliers, less than 1,000. So it's a decent sized supply base. Before QMSC, they used about 3 different ways to manage and track their non-conformances. One of the things that they had to do, the parts or materials get into the shipping and receiving. An inspector looks at it, determines that there's some kind of issue, and keep in mind that there could be 24 issues identified over the course of one day. So there's quite a few people inspecting stuff and identifying a lot of things. And so just for one, we know this because we did a time study on it, and it was really remarkable. From the time that someone identified there was an issue, they would open up an Access database. They would record the details of this nonconformance. They would export that into a Word document, attach some photographs, PDF it, and then put it in an email. It got sent to an SQE. And there's other things that happen after it gets sent to an SQE, so it's kind of crazy. Just that little space of time that I just discussed, it took 1 hour and 20 minutes, which is just mind-boggling that that they're spending over 30 hours a day writing up and recording nonconformances. There's so much other things that they could be working on than that. After QMSC, it took them on average between 5 to 8 minutes to do all of that. And in fact, we actually do more, because all of the other things that happened after it got sent to an SQE, all of that happens in the background with QMSC. So for instance, somebody can walk around with a touchscreen tablet, they find something, they take a photograph, they attach it to the nonconformance, select the part number, select which supplier is related to that part number, and type up some details about it's supposed to be this, it's actually this, and they hit submit. It goes through an entire internal review chain. The supplier gets notified. If it needs to go back to the supplier throughout that review process, that can be automated. We save them literally hours for each nonconformance that they create. Just to give you an idea of the scale, they've been implemented now for less than 2 years, right about 2 years at this point. And in the course of that time, they've recorded right at 2,500 nonconformances. So, think about how much time, man hours we've saved them, that they're going off and doing other things now that are more productive and proactive. And all of those things that they don't have to worry about. It's really remarkable that they're able to do that. And because of the kind of data that we can provide them with, that goes into their business intelligence platform, they really understand very clearly where the issues are, down to part families, which suppliers are the top offending suppliers, where their supplier quality team needs to go focus and spend time working on developing with remediation on different suppliers. So there's a lot of things that we can give them clarity on that they just weren't able to extract it previously. All of that happens either in our application or in their business intelligence application. It's really impressive. We have another customer in oil and gas, and prior to QMSC, they were using Excel spreadsheets, and that was honestly that was an inhibiting or a limiting factor for them to be able to record nonconformances or incidents. And the reason being is that somebody had to open up the spreadsheet or a log, open up the right tab, find the last nonconformance and select it, make sure that they didn't overwrite data from a previous nonconformance, populate all the information. They'd have to scroll back up to the top, figure out which row they're in. And so it was a very, very complex and inefficient process. Keep in mind, one of the other limitations with Excel spreadsheets, only one person can use it at a time. And so whenever you've got dozens of people out on a shop floor that are going to have some kind of issues that they may need to report at any given time, you hope the last guy closed out the Excel spreadsheet, and if you didn't, you got to call up somebody to go tell them, hey, you left that open. So it created a lot of constraints within their businesses that prevented them from understanding where the problems existed, because people just weren't recording the problems. And so I think in the 2 years previous to implementing QMSC, they recorded less than 200 nonconformances. After implementing QMSC, of course, all of their team members were able to log on concurrently. We don't have like concurrent limitations or anything like that. It's a modern application. So all of their team members can now get onto the system at the same time and do whatever kind of reporting they need to do whenever they identify a problem. But within the first year, they recorded 800 nonconformances, and so it really kind of made them wonder, what happened in the 2 years previous. And so I think that's one of the things that really just kind of speaks to one of the reasons why you should be implementing a solution like QMSC, is because you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of things that go on in your business you just don't have any clue about. And so that's one of the values of this particular case study, was just that all of this stuff was happening in the hidden factory, as we call it. There's this entire series of things that people do. I've got this problem, I'm just going to fix it, and it goes completely unnoticed. Did they do it the right way? Did it really go through the right checks and balances? You don't know. You hope so. You hope that people are doing the right things, but until people follow the process, you can't be really sure about that. And so after they implemented QMSC, again, they were able to identify these areas of problem. And so they were able to identify, for instance, that they had a lot of problems around engineering. That was a common disposition, re-engineer or send back to engineering for evaluation and different things like that, which is really remarkable. And so they had to completely overhaul their engineering group. It's kind of crazy, but that actually happened. And so whenever you look at that, now their nonconformances are going down after they implement that corrective action. Now they've identified other areas that they need to go work on, just part of continuous improvement. Solve that problem, move on to the next one. You can do that with QMSC. It's very, very easy to understand where your problems exist today. I think one of the challenges in aerospace and defense contracting is that there are some very specific gates that you have to go through when you do identify some kind of problem with a supplier or with a product. And so for every single incident, it's not just once we identify a trend. Yeah, once you identify a trend, you should go, solve and understand what the root cause of that is. But within most aerospace, prime contractors and customers, they want you to identify the root cause for every single incident. It's very laborious, very time intensive, but because the implications are so large, you think about what can happen if this part has related parts and that has related issues. It's really, really critical to understand what is the root cause for this problem with this particular part and any related parts. And so that's one of the things that we have baked into our solution for aerospace and defense contracting, is ensuring that with every single nonconformance, that process is followed, that there's checks and balances, that it always goes to the right people for evaluation and determining, did we do the right things? Did we check all of the boxes? Have we looked at all of the aspects of risk? And so with one of our customers that we implemented a few years ago, they were having difficulties, and in fact were at risk of losing one of their customers because they failed to follow the process every single time. Now, once they implemented QMSC, they didn't have any way around it. Every single nonconformance had to go through the right gates in order to be closed out. And so that's one of the advantages of having a dedicated solution, rather than trying to do it on Excel spreadsheets or in some kind of web document or something like that. You can add in the automation, and I think one of the great things about our platform is that our customers' admins, they can make all of the little tweaks and adjustments that they need to over time without having to call us up and say, hey, can we change this? Yeah, absolutely. We can change it for them, or they can change it too. And so they can manage their own requirements as they identify those needs for their business, and account for those nuances. But I think that was one of the great things about that particular customer and that case study, was that we were able to help them keep that customer because they implemented a process that could not be deviated from, which is really, really critical in aerospace. With consumer goods and lifestyle and luxury goods, I was surprised that there is space there. But after working with these new customers that we have in those spaces, it makes a lot of sense. The requirements for the products that these customers deliver are extremely high. They value their reputation in the marketplace, and in some cases there are regulations that relate to what it is that they're doing, and so. One of the challenges that they had was that they collected massive amounts of data. And so imagine for a moment, you've got 4 director level people. Every month, and I'm not exaggerating a bit here, each one of these individuals, director level, spends about 40 hours a month looking at all of this data, making sure that they're hitting their KPIs, that they don't have any processes going out of control, because quality is so critical to them. 40 hours a month. That is a tremendous lot. That is just so much time. It's crazy. In addition, you have 2 data analysts who are supporting those by going back, checking things, evaluating problems that may have been identified in the reports with metrics. So obviously you've got 2 people dedicated to that, plus another individual at director levels, full-time 3 people, all dedicated to looking at reports and raw data. It's just mind-boggling. But that's how serious they were about their quality and making sure that they operate their business the right way, the way that they want to. And so one of the things that we were able to do within a few months of implementing is essentially eliminate that. Today, we're going through integration, but all they have to do at this point is export a single file from their ERP. They drop it into our application, and we do all of the data scrubbing. We do all the error checking. They're able to look at these dashboards, and it doesn't take them a month to do it. It's just probably half an hour to export the data and to upload it. And it's one person doing that they've saved an incredible amount of time. We're preventing errors in the data that they weren't even aware of previously. Because somebody had to go back and check that. But because we have our own built-in analytics, we can run those kind of algorithms to make sure that all of this stuff is the way that it's supposed to be. And so that's one of the things that I think that we're really, really very good at, and we're finding a lot of market fitment is the analytics. That's something a lot of people care about right now, because it matters to a lot of people, being data-driven. Making data-driven decisions, and you can't do that, whenever it takes you an entire month to collect all that information, check it, and then finally be able to look at a report. We can help all of our customers with that, and that's a place that we've found that we're really good at, actually.